kids, welcome to your first virtual math lesson. I'm here in my kitchen. Before we go forward, we're going to go just a little bit back just to review very quickly, okay? Before we left, we had gone over place value and we were doing some puzzles with it, a whole bunch of different activities with place value. And what we had been talking about is how the number 5 can have a different value, be worth a different amount, depending on where in the place value it's placed. So a 5 in the ones place is only worth 5, right? But a 5 in the tens place is going to be worth 5 sets of 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, it'll be worth 50. If you put a 5 in the hundreds place, it's not just worth 5 and it's not worth 50, it's worth 5 sets of hundreds. So it would be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. That's going to be important to know as we move forward, or important to remember. The other small thing that we're going to review that you are really good at is using an open number line. It's open because it just begins like this. It can be used for adding. It can be used for subtracting. It can start on any number. It doesn't have to start at 0 or end at any particular number. It's an open number line. And we're going to be using that to add numbers that go up to 1,000. But I want to just backtrack to remind you the way these number lines work. We started really small. I know you know 5 plus 4. But just to remind you, when you begin, your first addend goes way to the left, because as the numbers get larger, they're going to move to the right, and you need room for that, okay? So we start with 5, and then we're going to add 4, and we can do that one of two ways. If you think you know it, you can just do plus 4. But if you're not sure, you can break it down into smaller jumps. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever you decide to do, you've got to label them. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. And then it's going to land at your answer. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Your check is that your numbers at the top, your jumps, need to add up to your second addend. So that should add up to 4. And then whatever you land on is your sum. All right, I know you know that, but let's do one that's a little bit bigger, because we did move on to numbers that were larger. We moved on to numbers that were in the tens, right? So let's do 47 plus 32. Okay? So we're going to start with our first addend way down to the left, terrible 7, and then we need to add 32. This time I'm not going to just draw a big jump and write 32. I'm going to break that down, and this is where that knowing your place value and what those digits are worth comes in handy. We're going to break this down into the tens and the ones, and we know that 2 in the ones place is worth 2. And we know that 3 in the tens place is worth 10, 20, 30. 3 sets of 10 is 30. That's my 32 broken down. Then I can do my jumps. I can do 47 plus 30. So I can do 10, 20, 30. Again, I need to label them so that I can look back and make sure I did it correctly. 47 plus 10. Just the number in the tens place is going to move. Okay, so it's 47 plus 10 is 57. Leave that 7 in the ones place. Don't just say 50, because that 7 stays. Another 10 is 67, and another 10 is 77. So I added the 30, now I just have to add the final 2. So I'll do 77 plus 1, plus 1, 78, 79. Let's check it. We've got our jumps that should add up to 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, and they do. And then we have our sum. which is the 79. It's coming back to you. I know you've been home for a while, but it should be coming back to you. All right, well, now we're moving on. This is the new stuff, but it's not that new. We're just adding a place value. So now we are going to have to break our numbers down into ones and tens and hundreds. So let's try 265 plus 127. Okay? So I'll start with my 265, and then I gotta break down that 127. It's gonna make it easier on me. I have the hundreds, I have the tens, I have the ones. 7 ones is worth 7. 2 tens is worth 20. And 100s is worth 100. And if I put those together, they equal 127. So let's do the jumps. 265 plus 100. The tens and the ones stay the same. It's just the hundreds that change. So 200 plus 1 is 365. Now I'm going to add my tens. I add 2 of them. Plus 10, plus 10. My hundreds will stay the same. My ones will stay the same. I'm going to add 10. 365 would be 375 if I add 1 10. If I add one more 10, it will be 385. If I kept going, if I had to add a few more tens, then it would affect the hundreds, and we'll see that in one of the next problems. All right, I added my hundreds, I added my tens, I need to add my ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus 1, 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 plus 1. Actually, we'll see it here, because I can look and see that 5 plus 7 is going to be more than 9. So I'm going to have to regroup some of my ones into that tens column. So you'll see what that looks like. All right, 385 plus 1, 386. 387. 388. 389. 390. So I had 89, I had to go up to 90. 391. 392. I tried to write the numbers as I pointed. You might have to sometimes draw lines to your numbers because these numbers are getting big to make sure that you don't lose track of what you'd added. So when we check it, these jumps should add up to my second add end. 100, 110, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127. And then my final my final sum is 392. All right, let's do one more. I want to remind you, we're not going to do number lines for a really long time. It takes a while. It's tedious. It's a lot of writing. Kids don't like it. I don't love it. It's easy to lose track. But it's one way that you can add or subtract if it makes sense to you and it makes it easier for you. We're going to quickly kind of move on after practicing this, and after a couple of days we'll get to where we just stack the numbers and regroup the way we got to with the tens place. So let's just do one more. We'll do 356 plus 278. Start with your first add end and then break down this number. So we have 8 in the ones place, 7 in the tens is going to be worth 70, and 2 in the hundreds will be worth 200. And if I put them all together, it would be 278. Do you remember that's called expanded form? And that's called standard form. We had just been doing that right before we had to leave. So let's add our hundreds. 356 plus 200. So we add 100 first, 356 is 456, and another 100 is 556. Again, that 56 stays the same. Now we have to add 7 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10. Let's watch and see. Our ones will definitely stay the same. Let's see about the rest, okay? We're going to add 256 plus 10. 556 is 566. That 10's place in the middle is moving. Plus another 10, 576. Another 10, 586. Another 10, 596. Another 10 would be 506. 506. And then another 10 would be 516. And another 10 would be 526. I'm going to add up my jumps, make sure it equals this. 100, 200, 210, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 270. Good thing I checked. Guess what I forgot to add? All those jumps, and I still have to add 8 ones. Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. See how easy it is to lose track? All right, we're just changing the ones. 526, 527, 528. I'm drawing lines to not lose track. 529, 530, 531, 532, 533, 534. All right, 100, 200, 270, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78. We did it. All right, so what you do now, right, is you've watched the video. You're gonna go on to the next slide, and you can watch the Another Look video in Pearson. You'll have to log on to Pearson if you want to do that. And that's the video that I would usually show in class, sometimes with the puppet guys that you guys like. Then you need to go into Seesaw, and there's practice pages, exactly like what you would do in the classroom. You do those in Seesaw, and then come back to the slideshow, and you can do some reading, and you can do a little bit of science, okay? I hope this works. I'd prefer to have you all sitting in front of me, and I'd prefer to be saying things like, stop playing with the scissors, and things like that. But we'll deal with this, all right? If you need help, I'll be on an office hour today from 10 until 10:30, and then we gotta have our regular hangout tomorrow at 1. Okay? Talk to you soon. Bye.